So my boyfriend moved with me into my aunt's house when I moved there, which is her rental house. It was her old house, so I was renting it from her. But he moved in with me, and that's when I had my second child. Now that was like 2010 when I had her. Now from there, I remember my aunt, she wasn't fixing anything. Like, it was just too much work that needed to be done in the house. Like, it costed too much money, and I have it to help her do that. So like the house was like slowly like breaking down. And I remember us having like some bad plumbing issues, to where like the toilet was backing up into the tub, and like one of the floors, like my daughter's room, it was like sewer, like it was a leak from the ceiling. I think it was either from the ceiling or the floor, but it was a very bad leak, and it was building up mold in there. And then I remember it having like ants, like real bad ants. So I was just like, yo, we moved from there and went somewhere else. Boom, we stayed in like one more place. We stayed in a couple places from there. But I remember I got pregnant. I got pregnant in between, like we ended up having a split. And this is my truth. I don't care, because people that know me don't know my story. Like, people that know me don't know my story at all, but they know me anyway. But I ended up getting pregnant when I had a split from that boyfriend. Like, we was just toxic. We was just toxic together, and I was very young. Like, when I got with him, I want to say, I had my daughter at 15, I believe. So I was like 14 when I got with him, but he was like 17. Like, he was almost 18, or he was 18, somewhere in there. But I was like very young, and I was just clinging to him, like, for real. Like, I didn't have my mama. Like, I was clinging to him. So I want to say in 2011, I had a split from him. We was very toxic, and I could blame it on age. Like, you young, you really don't know nothing. But I didn't want to be with him no more, and I didn't know like how to leave. Like, I had been with him since I was 14. At this time, I was a couple years older, but still, like that's basically, like, we still leaned on each other. Like, like, we helped each other then, and so, like, I didn't know how to leave. Like, we had everything together. Like, we had always got our cars and stuff together. Like, we only stayed with each other, so I didn't know how to leave. But we did have a breakup, and I ended up getting pregnant by, like, one of my friends that I knew. And I didn't know. Like, I didn't know that I was pregnant yet. But I did. I ended up getting pregnant with my third daughter. So now it's 2011, and I'm pregnant again with my third child. And at this time, like, I just don't believe in having abortions. I did this. Like, I'm not gonna make a child. I'm not gonna kill. Like, in my eyes, like, I'm not gonna kill a child. Like, I'm not. And then I'm not shaming anybody. Like, this is just my truth. This is my truth. So I ended up having my third child in 2012. So I had her. So we're gonna move to 2013. I got back with my boyfriend from before, for my first 2 kids. I got back with him. I got back with him. We got married in 2013. We got married in 2013. I got pregnant again, and I ended up having my fourth daughter in 2014. Now, I know you're like, why would y'all do this? And you didn't want to be with him, and you said it was already toxic. And honestly, I don't know. I don't know. But this is what happened. So I ended up having my baby in 2014. By that time, our relationship was really bad. It was really bad. In between there, like, we had domestic issues. Like, we would fight, and one fight was really bad. Like, I remember telling him, after I had my daughter in February of 2014, and it was like by the summer, I want to say it was like May. It was May, I believe, or like April, somewhere in there. I ended up telling him, like, I don't want to be with you. Like, this is just, like, it doesn't feel right to me. Like, it's a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm just giving y'all a timeline on what happened. So I was like, I don't want to be with you. So, we got into this real bad fight, I remember. And, we broke up. We ended up going to court or whatever. So now we're in divorce court or whatever. So I ended up finding this guy that I liked. I liked a lot, actually. And, you know, he had his own issues going on, but whatever. You know, I'm like, whatever. I got issues, too. So we ended up getting together. I remember him telling me, I want a baby. I remember me telling him, I don't want a baby. I think we should wait. I specifically told him this. And he was just like, no, I want a baby. And, like, so we tried. Pause. I know what you're thinking. Why would you do that and you're in divorce court and, you know, like, all this stuff is going on? Again, I was young, wrapped up in emotions, doing what I felt like was right. And this is my truth. This is what I am doing, my story. Period. So this will happen. We ended up trying for a baby, and it just didn't happen. And so I was like, all right. So, like, when we stopped trying, like, I for real ended up pregnant. And, like, I remember me telling him that. And so, boom, I got pregnant or whatever. He ended up going to jail for, like, most of my pregnancy. Like, he got out maybe when I was, like, 8 months. And without the details being told, he got out when I was 8 months. And, like, when he got out, like, I seen a different side of him. Like, this relationship was way more toxic than my marriage. So here I am with somebody else, and I'm in another domestic violence situation. How can my life get worse? At this time, I'm still praying. Never forgot about God. Like, I'm still praying all in between there. And, like, I'm not going to put, like, the whole domestic violence situation, thing on him. But, like, it still takes two to argue. I could have walked away on a lot of them arguments, which I actually ended up doing that. Like, I ended up telling him, like, this is toxic. Like, we can't be together. Like, I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to do this anymore. So we ended up breaking up. So in between that, not in between that, but after we broke up. We broke up the first time. I remember he, like, we got into a bad fight one night, and I was in my driveway, and I got out of my car, and I remember we was, like, fighting and stuff, like, over the phone, like, we was arguing over the phone or whatever, and he was telling me to bring something back to him. So, boom, I was coming back to my house, and he was in the driveway waiting on me, so I got out the car. It was money. He told me to give some money back to him that he had gave to me. So I got out the car to give him that money, and he walked up to me and just started punching me. Like, he just started punching me. Boom, boom, boom. So from there, I got in the car. So then I broke up with him. I broke up with him. And with me being broke up with him, I met this guy. After him. And I know, like, when I look back now, I'm like, y'all, like I still wasn't getting like what God, like God wanted that time for me to talk to him, you know, like, and like heal. Like I never gave myself a chance to heal, period, from no past relationships. So in this breakup, I got with this guy, and oh my God, like I loved everything about him. No cap. I loved his family, like everything. Like we clicked automatically. But like a couple weeks after that, like I was still I wasn't talking to my ex, period. Like I was talking to him like about our daughter, but I wasn't like, you know, like relationship, like, oh, I want to get back with you. No, because I was like really done with that. And like I remember like the new guy that I was with, like he was just really, like he was like, oh, I know you still talking to him. Like he just kept like telling me, like he was like really insecure, and I was like, no, like I'm not doing it. And it got like real crazy one time, and I was like, I don't want to be with you no more. So what happened with that is like we ended up breaking up, and I was broke up with him for like, let's see, for like 2 months. Within that 2 months, I ended up getting back with my ex, the one that was like really abusive. I got back with him, and we got back together because our daughter's 1-year birthday was coming up, and I believe that's how we got back together. So we got back together, and then like it was bad. Like no, this is when the incident happened, with the whole driveway incident, and when he beat me up, like my face was like so swole. That's when I left him for good. Like, yeah, so the new guy I was talking to, we started talking in April of like 2016. Yeah, April of 2016. That's what, because I wrote down notes. I did my timeline. But I started talking to him in 2016 in April. And so that was the first time we broke up, because he was like really like insecure and like thought I was talking to other people. And that's when I got back with my my 5th daughter's dad, and we tried it again until May. Now May, it was my daughter's 1-year birthday. Yeah, like me and the other guy, we weren't together that long at first, but then when May came around, that's when the whole incident after my daughter's first birthday happened, when I was in the driveway, and then like my face was like so swole. I was like, and I had to go to work. I was like, I am done. Like I remember my ear was split open and like it was bleeding and stuff. I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. So that's when I ended up contacting my other ex back that I met in April, the one that I broke up with, because I was like, we had some conversations about God, and I was like, I know for a fact that maybe, you know, I'm just tripping, like that we can make it work. You know, I know that he believed in God, and so hey, you know, that was like the best relationship I had been in thus far, so let me see if I was, you know. So we ended up getting back together, and and it was cool. Like, we was cool. And so I ended up having my son in 2017. I got pregnant, and then I had my son. I got pregnant. Okay, look, so I got pregnant. So in the midst of us being pregnant, we moved to our own house for me staying in that house. So boom, we moved to our own house for me staying in that house. And I ended up getting pregnant, so I couldn't work no more. Plus my boyfriend at the time, he didn't want me working. And so I was like, I ain't never had that happen before, to where I just don't have to work. I'm gonna be at home, you know. I was like, this is good. This is great. So like, I'm pregnant at home and he's just working. And so from him working, like something happened, and like we got behind in bills. So we ended up moving in with his mom. Okay, so we ended up moving in with his mom. I had my son in 2017. And so had my son in 2017. After I had him, we moved into our own place like a couple months after that. And so we moved into our own place. Something happened to where his mom ended up getting evicted from her place. And she ended up coming staying with us. Like, she came and stayed with us, his little brothers, and just her and his little brothers came and stayed with us, I believe, that time. So that happened, and that was the first time. So after that, his mom found a place to go move into, like some months after that. But in between there, before she ended up moving, I got pregnant again. And I'm not like saying it in like a bad way, because I love my kids, but my life, I love my kids. Like, they make me, period. But I'm just telling my story. so I ended up getting pregnant again. And so that is, let me see, that was my 7th baby at this time, and I was having a girl. So I ended up getting pregnant then. And me and his mom, like, we just wasn't getting along. I'm not gonna go into depth of what happened. We just wasn't getting along. But she did end up getting her own place then. And so I was like, okay, finally get to breathe, be in my own household. So let's see. I had my daughter. And after that, let's see, did I have my daughter? Yeah, I had my daughter. But before that, like, me and him was having arguments. Like, we just wasn't seeing eye to eye, like, at all. We weren't seeing eye to eye at all. And I think it was mostly because, I don't know, this whole time I was trying to live righteous. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I was really trying to go to church. I was trying to pray. And I was getting upset because, like, his mom would tell me, like, that she wanted to do this. And, like, for God. Like, we were supposed to be doing fasts and, like, everything, like, for God. And, like, I would always end up doing it. And I remember one time her telling me, oh, you stopped smoking cigarettes and you think you better than everybody, but you not better than nobody. And I was like, that's not it. Like, I won't, I'm like, I want y'all. I want you. Like, I wanted her so bad, like, to say what she wanted to do, because she told me, like, a whole bunch of stuff she wanted to do for God. She wanted to do a whole bunch of stuff, and I wanted her so bad. Like, I wanted her so bad to do what she wanted to do. And I'm telling this because my story's never been told. Like, my side of the story never been told. And I want people to see how far I came and why. That's why I'm telling all this. But, like, I wanted her so bad to do what she said she wanted to do. Plus, like, that was the first mother-in-law that I was really, like, close like that with. And I used to call her Ma. Like, and that was the first mother-in-law since my mama. Like, period. Like, I don't, I was already iffy. Like, I still to this day cry about my mama not being around. Like, she never got to meet none of my kids. Like, I still cry about that. But, I remember one time we got in an argument, and she told me not to call her Ma no more, or mama not to call me. And that stuck with me for a long time, but I let that go. But we just want to say eye to eye. So after I had my daughter, a couple months after that, she had told us that she got evicted again. This ain't to downplay nobody. I done got eviction notices. I don't care. Like, for real, this is not about downplaying or shaming nobody, but I'm telling my story and I'm getting it out. I done held it in long enough. But she got evicted from where she was at, or she was about to get evicted. And so, like, she was like, she was trying to move. Like, she asked me, because the first time we got in a big argument when she left, and like this time I was like, maybe it'd be different, because somewhere before I had my daughter, she was saying that this is what happened. So right before I had my daughter, like, I was like 8 or 9 months. I was like 8 or 9 months pregnant, and she was like, I'm getting ready to get evicted. Can I come stay with y'all? And she told my boyfriend that. And he told me. And I'm like, no, because we stayed with each other multiple times before, and we always ended up getting into it. I'm like, we at a good level right now. Like, I'm not trying to do that. And, like, we argued so bad, I ended up going into pre-labor. And my boyfriend at that time, he left. Like, he was gone doing something. And one of his friends pulled up. And saw me, like, going in labor. And he's like, where's he at? And this is my truth. He's like, where's he at? And then I'm trying to remember. Like, I really don't remember everything that happened then. But I don't think we had a car at that time either. So, something happened. What happened? But I know he ended up taking me to the hospital. And I remember my boyfriend was just like, he said, I forgot what happened, but he said some crazy stuff on the verge to where, like, something like, you want him there or something. And I mean, I'm like, bro, I am really hurting right now. And I was going into premature labor. They ended up giving me steroids to keep me to, like, they gave me medicine to stop my contractions. And they gave me medicine. They gave my baby steroids just in case for her lungs. So if I had her early, this will happen. So in between there, I finally had my daughter. And boom, a couple months later. So I had in between there, his mother ended up telling us I wasn't really getting evicted. I just wanted to see what y'all was gonna say. That was kind of iffy to me. I was like, if you weren't getting evicted, why would you do all that, you know? So, a couple months after I had my daughter, we found out that I think his mom, like, something happened, like, to where she started, something happened. I want to say that she was in the hospital or something happened. So, we came up with the conclusion that we was going to let her move in. So she moved in with us again. And that time he had 3 younger brothers. He has 4, but he has 3 younger brothers. So his mom and his 3 younger brothers and his older brother that was staying with her as well moved into our house. And it was a cousin that was staying with them. So he moved into our house as well. So a little bit of background. Let's see. I had a 3-bedroom house at the time. But, you know, I don't care. Like, if you family and you need help, like, I don't care about none of that. Like, okay, like, so everybody came, like, okay, it was cool at first. And then, like, at one point in time, it was just me working. And I don't know if my boyfriend at that time was depressed about whatever, but, like, our communication was not good at all. And, like, it wasn't good at all. And I'm like, we have a newborn baby. And honestly, what happened, since this is my truth, like, after we had our baby, he got sick. And he was going to the hospital. So when he got sick and he was going to the hospital, after we had our baby, like, he was smoking. We smoked marijuana. I'm not gonna lie, it calms the nerve. Anyway, I don't smoke no more, but we used to smoke back then. When he was smoking, and he had just got out the hospital. It's something, like, I don't know if he found out what was going on, but it was something that was, like, flaring it up. And the doctors literally told us that it was from him smoking. So I had got out the hospital one day. And he got out the hospital, and I remember I went to the store or something and went back to the house, and he was in a full-blown smoke out party. And I was like, what is going on? Like, you're not supposed to be smoking or whatever. So we got into it about that. And, like, he wasn't working, and I think he might have been depressed from not working. I don't know. like, he wasn't telling me anything, but like that put a big hindrance like on our relationship, period. And like at one point in time when everybody was staying with us, I was the only one working. And then he moved in one of his friends. At that time, like, he really wasn't, like, we was talking, but like it was so many people in the house. It was so many arguments happening because it's a small house. And at that time, like, I had 7 kids. Like, we had 7 kids. 8 because we also had his son. So it was 8 kids. Myself, my boyfriend, his mother, his 3 brothers, his cousin, and then he let his friend move in this 3-bedroom house. So at this point, everybody's irritated because ain't no room. Like, that's really how I think, like, how like all the arguments happen. Like, everybody's irritated. So long story short, because it was more in between that. Long story short, one day, I believe, like, he was trying to, like, say something to me, or something happened. And, like, throughout our relationship, we'd be like, oh, we done with each other. Like, we're not doing this no more. But, like, we never went through with it because we just didn't go through it. But one day, like, in the midst of all that, he was just like, we could break up. Or something like that. Something like that. And it really hit me that day. And I was like, I know you're not, like, it really hit me. And I sat there and thought about it, like, for a long time. I was like, I'm the only one working in the house. Like, I've been helping you take care of your family. And, like, his mom was working for a minute. And it, like, it wasn't even to the point to where, because she got sick and went to the hospital, is why she couldn't work. The thing that was really getting to me wasn't no other adult working in the house but me. And it was me, my boyfriend, his brother that was grown, and his cousin. So, and his friend. And wasn't nobody working there but me. And his mother couldn't work at the time because she was sick. But she had ended up getting a job at this point. But in between there, she couldn't work because she went to the hospital. She was sick. Okay. But what is everybody else doing? Like, I didn't understand that. So, like, and in between this, like, nobody else seen these arguments that me and him was having, but me and him. So, like, when we eventually ended up, he told me that, like, one day he was just like, because I think that he wanted to have sexual intercourse or something that night before, and I was like, nah, I'm cool. Because let me tell you, something about me, like, is when I'm like, it's other stuff going on, like, that doesn't mean anything to me. Like, I cut that all off. Like, no, we have other issues we need to take care of. So at that point in time, like, when he said that morning, and I think he just said it because he was mad, you know, but nah, this time I really said it, and that really hit. So, I really thought about it, and I was like, I'm not doing this no more. Like, he's not listening. Like, I keep trying to tell him, like, this is going on. Like, he's doing all this other stuff without going into too much detail. And I was like, no. So I called one of my older friends that I had and told her, like, hey, like, please, like, take me to a shelter. Like, I was literally going to a shelter. And at this time, it was a winter storm. But I was going to go to a shelter. And she's like, you don't got to go there. I can take you here. So I packed my stuff up. That morning, I packed my stuff up within like an hour. And she came and got us. And so from 2016 to 2019, I left like at the end of January, or at the beginning of January, I left. And we just left. Like, and I took all my babies with me, and we went and stayed. She was supposed to take me to a shelter, but she ended up taking me somewhere else. So I stayed with one of her friends. So in the midst of all that, this is what happened. I stayed with her friend then. I ended up moving from staying with the lady that she knew. I moved from her, and I ended up moving with my best friend at the time. And so when that happened, let's see. Yeah, I moved in with my best friend at the time. So at that time, I'm still working. Like, I'm still working. And I put in for an application at the apartment that my best friend was staying in. I had put in the application at the other place I was staying at with the girl because I really liked that place. But something fell through. Like, I had some of my back rental history where I couldn't move in there. And it fell through. So I ended up putting in the application where my best friend stayed at. And so I got that apartment. So I got that apartment, and I was like, yeet. Like, I got that apartment. And so I was excited about that. But this is where it got kind of sticky. So I got that apartment. But okay, so when I left my house, we only took like maybe like 10 bags, and I took like most of my baby stuff, all the stuff I could take, but I left all my stuff there. All the rest of the stuff I tied up and put in my girls' room, like my kids' room, and shut the door. So I was going back to the place to get my kids' stuff because I had just got my apartment, and I was like, bet I can like go get all my kids' stuff now anyway and put it in here. But to tell my truth, one of his friends called me and told me, hey, whoop, 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 he's over here, and he was talking a whole bunch of stuff about you, saying that he's over here with this girl. And I'm like, I have my kids with me. I mean, like, he has his kids, like, the kids is over there right now while I'm working and whatever. And I was like, whatever, I don't believe that. So I went over there, and let me be clear. In between this, like, as I left, I was still talking to this man. This man was still coming to see me. Like, he was supposed to be moving in with me to this apartment when he was supposed to be moving back in with me with this apartment when I got it. Like, it was so much stuff going in that house between his mama, his brother, and his cousin and his friend that was staying there. Like, he was supposed to be moving in with me. Like, I was paying his phone bill. Like, that was my house I moved out of. Like, I was still paying bills over there, you know? So, like, I go over there, and I'm like, I go over there, I knock on the door, and they let me in, and, like, I'm talking to him. I'm like, where is he at? And, like, I go in the room, like, don't nobody say nothing. They were just like, I don't know. Like, everybody was just sitting in the living room like, I don't know. So I was like, whatever. So I go into my kid's room, because I had my niece bring me over there so I can get their stuff. So I go in my kid's room, and, like, I go in there, and it's trash. Like, all of their clothes is, like, it's trash, like, for real. It looked like they had put, like, trash in there. Like, none of that stuff I left there was, like, okay at all. At that point, I come out the room mad. Like, I'm belligerent. Like, I'm just ready to fight at this point. I come out the room. So I'm like, where is he at? Like, when nobody saying nothing. Like, all the people that was sitting in the living room, when nobody saying nothing. So I go back to where my room used to be at, and I walk in there. So at this point, I left that house at the beginning of January. When I went back in there, it was like February something. So it wasn't really a cool month yet. Like, it was not a cool, or it could have been like a month, coming up on a month, somewhere right there. I walked in there, and this man is laying there in bed with his ex. Let me just make it. He laying there in his bed he laying there in the bed with his ex, with my baby in between them, naked. I black out. We get to fighting or whatever. So whatever. Just because at that point in time, I don't care what we done been through, nigga. We still got kids, so whatever. I'm not gonna take the kids from you. So I bunk out and leave. Another long story short. So from there, he ends up bringing the kids, dropping them off. No. In between there, and because this is my story and I'm gonna tell it. In between there, somehow he gets to, idea that I've been messing with one of his friends the whole time we was together, which that never happened like that. I end up talking to his friend after we broke up. Never in my life did I ever cheat on this man, which I believe he was the only man I didn't cheat on, and I'll take that to the grave. I didn't end up talking to this friend until after we broke up. So he gets all irate and mad about that. And I want to say he still kept the kids. Like, they'd have gotten an argument. He got in an argument with me and some more stuff. But he still ended up keeping the kids. So, like, I never was like, give me my kids. No, you're still their daddy. Pull your weight, you know? So, whatever. He ended up keeping the kids or whatever. So, from there, like, he was bringing the kids to me. But what happened was he pulled up, his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, which was now his new girlfriend, which was weird, ended up pulling up, and she dropped off the kids or whatever. But when she dropped off the kids, like, she was like looking at me smirking and stuff, like she had an issue. So I don't remember if I text first or if I said something out the door or something happened. They ended up leaving though, and like, I remember I think I texted and said something to him. And then she texted back and was like, how does it feel for me to be driving his mama's car and it's not you? What? I feel good about that. Like, what are you talking about? So we got to arguing, and they ended up coming back to fight. So what happened was we got to tussling and fighting and whatever. But they came in the house. They came in my friend's house. And he ended up holding me down while she was fighting me. My truth. And like, my best friend had got into the fight. He ended up sitting on her so she could like hit us. Like, this is my truth, and I put it on my everything I love. This is what happened. So after that whole fight happened, which it really wasn't a fight after that. Like, he basically held us like while she fought us. So after that though, I left. Like, I left because I'm like, he left after that or whatever. But I sat there and thought about my life real good after that, and I ended up going. I have family in Texas, an aunt, but that wasn't the case. Like, at this point, like, he just kept calling me and kept wanting to argue, kept wanting to fight. He was still trying to fight this friend he thought I was messing with while we was together, and that wasn't the case at all. Like, that wasn't the case at all. And like, it was just too much. Like, it was too much. So I ended up going to a domestic violence shelter in Texas. So this is finally where I get to my story. But I had to give you like all that background on how like this happened. So I actually prayed about me moving, me going to a domestic violence shelter. I actually prayed about that, and I was like, God, like, but at this point, I'm like, I'm looking at the rest of my life, and I'm like, all this stuff that happened to me, I'm like, what is there to lose? Like, a fresh start for me and my babies, period. So I ended up going to the domestic violence shelter in Texas. So I gets out there, and I'm not even like the domestic violence shelter I was supposed to go to, it was full. And like, so I ended up going to this place, and come to find out, it was the top 2. Sorry, but it was the top 2 domestic violence shelter in Texas, like in like, I want to say like the country. It was very nice. Like, it had its own compound in there, like their own doctors. It had therapists in there. We had like yoga. It was very nice. But at this point, like, I am really distraught, and like I've never been through that. Like, so with me, like, only thing me and my kids could take was a backpack. Like, we all had one bag. So I took a bag. And also, no, I left, one of my babies stayed with her dad. But, so I had 6 kids with me, I took. Yeah, 6 kids with me I took. So I had my bag, and then my kids had a bag, and then I had my baby bag with me. So we got on a train, and we took a bus. That was like I want to say like a 6 or, no, it was a long time. It was longer than a 6-hour trip. By the time we got there, we was so tired. And I remember this lady, like, she was just so bomb. Like, she was really bomb. And, like, she was just, like, she got us off the bus when we got there. Like, we was really tired. We was, like, really, really tired. And she was so cool. Like, so nice. And I was like, man, and I just slept for, like the next, like, 2 days. They let me sleep and do my intake and stuff. But there, I met this lady. And she was, like, cool. Like, she was my next door neighbor, like, in the shelter, like, how it was set up. Like, she was my neighbor. And she helped me through so much stuff. And she actually did my locks for me. Like, so this year is my fourth year locked. And I love them. Anyway, she ended up giving me these crystals, energy crystals. And she gave me a rose quartz. And those are for your heart, supposedly. Those ones are for your heart and, like, healing your heart and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, what is this? Like, and then, like, it actually, I thought in my head, like, it was helping me or, like, whatever. So I was like, okay, this is pretty neat. So I was like, this is pretty cool, you know? And, like, she's telling me more stuff, and, like, and, like, so basically that's just, like, where I first found out about crystals or whatever. So boom, that was 2019. So from the shelter, I ended up moving into my own place or whatever. I was in the shelter for 96 days. Like, that's a whole nother story I have for you guys. I am going to actually post a podcast about that. My experience and stuff. I'm going to post a podcast on that so you can hear about that. But 96 days, boom, I moved into my own place. So at this time, like, my daughter is still with her dad in Kansas. And, like, I'm still communicating with them or whatever. And at one point in time, like, something was happening, and her dad was, like, upset. Like, I wasn't giving him, like, some more money. Like, I gave him money, but he wanted more money. And, like, somehow, like, they were trying to put him on child support. But at that time, my daughter was with him. So, like, I didn't do that then, like, at all. And, like, they were trying to put him on child support, and he was upset about that. So he was just like, when are you coming to get our daughter? And at that point, I'm like, he was having his visitations first, and then I was going to get her, because before that, she wasn't in school. I mean, then she wasn't in school then, so she was younger. So I was like, what? So I remember me talking to his mother, and his mother was just like, she's fine, whatever. But in my head, I was like, whatever. I'm, like, going to get my child, because ain't nobody about to tell me come get my child. You know, like, that's strange to me. So I ended up moving back from Texas to Kansas, which was the worst mistake that I could have did. I feel like it wasn't, but whatever. So I ended up doing that. But in between there, like, I went and got my daughter or whatever. But in between there, I started looking into these crystals more, you know? And I was like, that rose quartz kind of did some stuff, but I started looking into these crystals. So it started very innocent. I'm not gonna lie. But, like, once I started researching more, like, after that happened, and, like, while I'm still in Texas, like, it was just very hard. Like, it was really hard. Like, it was hard. And I was like, all this stuff that happened to me, like, over the years, and I like, all the stuff that happened to me over the years, how can it be? I know it's a Most High God, but, like, I'm doing something wrong. I'm doing something wrong. Like, I'm not praying right. Am I even praying to the right God? like I'm truly doing something wrong. So at this point, like, I start doing research. The crystals, I start like looking up all crystals. Like, it's a crystal for everything that you can think of that supposedly helps you with everything. So that's where my I guess spiritual journey started. Like, I started looking up all these crystals. Plus, I was already into like home remedy stuff. Like, I was really like into home remedies, staying away from medicines, because I don't take medicines anyway. That made me sick. Like, I don't like taking like medicines. So like I do like different herbs and stuff, like when I was sick, like colds and stuff. So like I was already into that. But me like leading there, it started with crystals. For crystals, me doing that research there, I wanted to figure out what I was missing and why I basically felt like I was getting cursed by God. Like, I was really trying to figure out like why my life was like this. So I feel like I had found something. I ended up finding this group that I was in, and they were just talking about African descent and stuff, and Indians, and like our true religion was never Christianity, and how our true religion was the Orishas and the Loa, which I don't downplay none of that stuff at all. Still, like, I met some really cool people, but down the line I came to the realization that is not for me. That is not for me. Like, I had got so deep in it to where I forgot about God. I feel like when New Age, which they say is New Age, I never knew it was New Age until I come across somebody's video. Honestly, I had to come across somebody's video and I was like, oh, they're calling that New Age, but it's really not. They're calling, like, the New Age stuff is really like voodoo and hoodoo. Like, I knew that already though. But what it looks like is that, like, it was more stuff than Christianity, which is so much stuff that had happened to me in the church. Like, and I just, like, it was some churches I was at, like, other than like my church I was at. Like, I was still in church, but I didn't understand like how I was going through all this stuff. But like, I was in church when that happened. Like, even with my first marriage, like, I was in the church, like, digitally, like, I was in the church. But let's not let me forget, like, I forgot all about, like, I wasn't living according to the Bible, like how I was supposed to live while I was in the church. So all this stuff was happening. Okay, so I got into crystals and I started looking into like the Loa and the Orishas, and I forgot all about God. And then when you start looking into that, it gets to a point where they talk about Jesus was just another, they make out Jesus just to be another like person, like he was just like another one of us, and that's, you know, but no, like, no. But I got into that deep. So from 2019 to late 2021, I was practicing hoodoo. And I would say hoodoo, like, I was still believing in God, but I denounced Jesus' name. Like, Jesus, like, I knew he was real, but I didn't say that was my Lord and Savior. So like, I had started depending on these Loas and Orishas, and really just like depending on myself, like taking accountability, like, for what the mistakes I had in my life, which everybody should still do that. Like, don't do that. But I forgot about God. Like, I was like taking upon myself like more. I ended up moving out of moving out of Kansas 2021. This time I ended up, or 2021, March of 2021, I ended up moving out of Kansas. Now, my husband that I'm with now, I ended up meeting in Texas. And I'm going to give my own story about that later. But we ended up moving in 2021. Now, we moved and got a beautiful place where we at now, which is in Arkansas. But when we moved, like, I didn't, like, the daughter that I left when I had to go to the domestic violence shelter with her dad, like, I hadn't heard from him for, like, a couple months, like, for real. And I wasn't about to leave my daughter there this time. When the first time I left her with him, he told me to come get her. So I just took her with me. Unknowingly knowing about this law that they have, that you have to give notice before you leave the state with a child. So from that, I ended up getting served and going to court. And the judge ordered my daughter to go back, just because I didn't give notice. For that, not because I'm a bad mother, not because I don't do drugs. I mean, not because I do drugs. Like, I don't do none of that. Like, I'm a whole preschool teacher and a nurse part-time. Like, I don't do none of that. But honestly, I really feel like that was God. That was Jesus, like, humbling me. I feel like that was Jesus humbling me. Telling me, like, daughter, like, I've been here with you. I've been here with you. Like, when you didn't have nobody, like, I was still there. Like, throughout all the years, like, with your mom. Like, with